Like the video and subscribe to our channel right now and get 1 week of amazing luck. Invasive species are plants and animals that have been moved, typically over long distances, outside of their native habitat and into a new region, impacting the other species that live there. Invasive animal species have a bad reputation. From tree-killing insects to rampaging wild pigs, they often crowd out native fauna and alter the environment they invade. Though through no fault of their own, they are almost always introduced to new areas by humans. Often, invasive species proliferate rapidly because they lack natural predators that would keep their population in check. They range from tiny insects that harbor novel diseases to apex predators that can upend an entire food chain. Here are 10 invasive species that came to dominate new landscapes and changed the environment forever. Number 10. Burmese Python. The Burmese python is one of the top 5 largest snakes in the world. They're non-venomous, but you still wouldn't want to get bitten by one. They're solitary animals and only really come together to mate in the spring. The Burmese python is one of the largest species of snake. It is native to a large area of Southeast Asia and is listed as vulnerable on the IUCN Red List. Until 2009, it was considered a subspecies of the Indian python but is now recognized as a distinct species. Alligators have been overtaken by Burmese pythons as Florida's primary apex predator, even within the Everglades National Park. They were introduced in the area via the exotic pet trade and found their way into the wild, either escaping or being released purposefully by their owners. Aggressive and skilled hunters of numerous local species, pythons. According to a 2012 study, South Florida's native mammal populations have drastically declined due to pythons, with opossums and bobcats losing 98.9% and 87.5% of their numbers, respectively. Number 9. Wild pig. The wild pig is a suid native to much of Eurasia and North Africa. The species is now one of the widest-ranging mammals in the world, as well as the most widespread suiform. It has been assessed as the least concern on the IUCN Red List due to its wide range, high numbers, and adaptability to a diversity of habitats. It has become an invasive species in part of its introduced range. The wild pig has a long history of association with humans, having been the ancestor of most domestic pig breeds and a big game animal for millennia. Wild pigs are one of the most prevalent invasive species in North America. They were brought to the Americas in the 1500s as domestic livestock. Escaped pigs soon turned into feral herds that live in the wild. In 2018, the population in the United States was estimated to be 6 million and growing, with feral pigs found in 35 states. Controlling the feral pig population is mostly done by hunting, which is a monumental task. A study in Texas found that to keep the population from increasing, hunters would need to harvest 66% of the pig population every year due to its high reproductive rate. Number 8. Northern Pacific sea star. The Northern Pacific sea star is a large starfish that is native to the coastal waters of the northwestern Pacific Ocean, including Japan, Russia, North China, and Korea. It has been introduced inadvertently to Australia, where it occurs in large numbers in several estuaries and embayments in the states of Tasmania and Victoria. The Northern Pacific sea star is normally found in shallow water but occurs from the intertidal area through to the subtidal as deep as 200 meters. The Northern Pacific sea star is an invasive species in Australia. It is a voracious predator that feeds on mollusks, crabs, dead fish, and other sea stars. Female sea stars can produce 10 to 25 million eggs per year, leading to rapid population growth. In Australia, it has contributed to the decline of the spotted handfish, a unique fish that walks on the seafloor using highly adapted fins. The spotted handfish is now considered critically endangered and is only found in the estuary of the Derwent River in Tasmania. Number 7. Mountain pine beetle. The mountain pine beetle is a species of bark beetle native to the forests of western North America from Mexico to central British Columbia. It has a hard black exoskeleton and measures approximately 5 mm, about the size of a grain of rice. Mountain pine beetles are only about 1/4 of an inch long, but these invasive pests have had an enormous impact on pine forests. They bore under a tree's bark, laying eggs and depositing a fungus that kills the tree. In the western United States and Canada, a 20-year outbreak that began in 1995 destroyed millions of acres of forest. The outbreak was particularly bad in British Columbia, where pine beetles killed nearly 30% of all forests. Scientists believe that this outbreak was particularly extensive because warmer winters due to climate change allow the beetles to expand their range. Number 6. Brown tree snake. The brown tree snake, also known as the brown cat snake, is an arboreal rear-fanged colubrid snake native to eastern and northern coastal Australia, eastern Indonesia, Papua New Guinea, and many islands in northwestern Melanesia. The brown tree snake decimated native bird populations in Guam after it was introduced to the Pacific island in the 1950s, probably via cargo ships or aircraft. The snake spread rapidly across the entire island, and by the 1990s, some reports estimated about 30,000 snakes per square mile. They drastically reduced native animal populations and caused power outages by climbing electrical wires. Of the 11 native bird species in Guam, 9 species went extinct due to the brown tree snake's arrival. Snake populations are declining now due to control measures and a lack of prey species, but the snakes are still far from being eradicated. Number 5. European starling. The common starling, also known as the European starling in North America and simply as the starling in Great Britain and Ireland, is a medium-sized passerine bird in the starling family, Sternidae. The European starling is native to Europe, Asia, and northern Africa but has been introduced to most of the world's habitats, except for tropical rainforests. In the United States, starlings were introduced as part of a plan to fill the American landscape with all of the species referenced in works by Shakespeare. Starlings now exist in massive flocks that outcompete native species, steal nests from other birds, and damage crops. Number 4. Brown rat. The brown rat, also known as the common rat, street rat, sewer rat, wharf rat, Hanover rat, Norway rat, and Norwegian rat, is a widespread species of common rat. One of the largest moroids, it is a brown or gray rodent with a body length of up to 28 centimeters long, and a tail slightly shorter than that. Rats have a long, devastating history as an invasive species. They were the first invasive species to arrive on Australia's uninhabited Macquarie Island, soon after the island was discovered in the southern Pacific Ocean in 1810. The rats, along with introduced rabbits and cats, stripped the island of its natural vegetation and caused the extinction of 2 native bird species, the Macquarie Island parakeet and Macquarie Island rail. In 2007, the Australian government pledged $24.6 million to eradicate invasive species from the ecosystem by trapping, hunting, and monitoring. In 2014, they announced that the project was a success. Number 3. Zebra mussel. The zebra mussel is a small freshwater mussel. The species originates from the lakes of southern Russia and Ukraine but has been accidentally introduced to numerous other areas and has become an invasive species in many countries worldwide. Zebra mussels made their debut in North America in 1988, after being introduced by ships traveling from their native Russia. They have since spread across the Great Lakes, into the Mississippi River and its tributaries, and have been found in Colorado, Texas, Utah, Nevada, and California. Mussels may sound like one of the more non-threatening creatures in the ocean, but the spread of zebra mussels has had broad repercussions. They edge out native clams and mussels, clog industrial intake valves, and accumulate toxins that can affect waterfowl that prey on them. Number 2. Cane toad. The cane toad, also known as the giant neotropical toad or marine toad, is a large, terrestrial true toad native to South and mainland Central America, but which has been introduced to various islands throughout Oceania and the Caribbean, as well as northern Australia. They were unleashed in 1935 to combat pests like cane beetles that were affecting sugarcane fields. However, With no natural predators, the toads proliferated rapidly and soon became a threat to native species. Cane toads prey on many smaller native animals, and would-be predators are not adapted to withstand their toxins. In some cases, populations of native lizards and snakes dropped by 80 to 100% after cane toads appeared. Cane toads now appear in most of northern and western Australia, and are spreading across the country at a rate of about 30 miles per year. Number 1. Earthworms. Earthworms are considered one of the original invasive species. Given the ubiquity of earthworms, it only seems natural that they have existed underground across the world for millions of years. But in North America, native earthworms were largely wiped out by expanding glaciers during the Pleistocene Ice Age. Most of the earthworms in the United States, especially in northern states, are actually descended from species that arrived in America with the first European settlers. While gardeners appreciate seeing earthworms in the soil, worms have had a mixed effect in North American forests. Studies have shown that invasive earthworms can reduce ground cover, allow invasive plants to thrive, and reduce populations of ground-nesting ovenbirds.